Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, professional hockey player for the Newfoundland Growlers, Todd Skirving. Todd played his junior hockey days in the BCHL, the British Columbia Hockey League, and the United States Hockey League in the USHL before going to Rochester Institute of Technology for 4 years of NCAA, and where after that he got his chance to go play pro in the ECHL, the East Coast Hockey League, with the Orlando Solar Bears, Utah Grizzlies, Atlanta Gladiators, and has spent the last 4 years with the Newfoundland Growlers in the coast in Newfie, as well as getting an AHL call up to the Toronto Marlies this past season. So I'm really excited to get you on, Todd. So welcome to the show, Todd Skirving.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Quite the introduction. Suitcase,
Yeah,
eh?
so a little bit of a suitcase, but who doesn't love suitcases?
Yeah. It's always fun traveling, seeing the world. Get to do what we love to do, and we get to see places at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. But start things off, like, how's your summer training going? Like, I know it's like midway part of the off season right now. So how's everything going with you?
It's going good. It's starting to ramp up a little bit more now. This season, with playing a lot more games than I have in previous seasons. I usually take a week or two off at the end of the season. I took about 2.5, almost 3 weeks this time just to get healed up. Obviously, a little banged up from the run in the playoffs, but yeah, starting to ramp up now. Skating, working out, 4 to 5 times, 6 times a week, depending on what's on the go. But yeah, just trying to get out, get on the hiking trails, just stay active and stay loosey goosey this time of year. Trying to enjoy the weather out here in St. John's when we get a sunny day.
Yeah, I love that answer. It's like, what is an off season like training schedule like for you? Like, what's that like? Like when you're on the ice, like what are you doing off the ice? Like in the gym, what are you doing there?
Yeah, so like this week, we skate at 12. We got two ice times, Tuesdays and Thursdays this week at 12, which is actually perfect. I like getting up around 7:30, quarter to 8, get a little smoothie, a little breakfast in. Then I'll head down to the rink here. Fortunate enough to just train at the Mary Brown Center there. So I'll do my workouts there. Have my snacks, protein shakes, whatnot there, and then, like I said, Tuesday and Thursday we were able to skate, so it just kind of falls into an ice time session. The ice times out here are great. Like I was telling you earlier, it's two lines. It's usually an hour. It gets pretty competitive. They kind of do a little draft, so it's like a first line, second line thing. So you're playing against some pretty good hockey players. The local pros that come back for the summer and whatnot. So it's a good setup. I can't complain. As I was telling you earlier as well, like I probably don't work out as much as I have probably in previous years. Last summer I toned it down a little bit, tried to focus a little more on mobility, try to get on the hiking trails, try to do something that's different. It kind of keeps your mind fresh, keeps your
Yeah.
body fresh, and kind of prolongs your career a little bit. So this past season, I felt a lot better on the ice by toning it down just a little bit in the gym, maybe skating a little bit more, and doing a little more mobility. So that's how
Yeah.
it's been so far. I'm kind of getting a little bit more of an itch now with getting halfway through summer. It feels like now, even though we started late. Excited to hopefully be playing again here soon and see where it goes.
Yeah, and like that's like a good like off season training because like you put your body through so much during the season since you're practicing playing games that it's just nice to like relax and not like be on the ice or in the gym too much compared to like destroying your body during the off season compared to like when you have to go to battle every night every day at practice at games. Like you're able to do that now since you're more recovered during the off season.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely nice. Like for me, I got this whoop on my wrist as you can see. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it kind of tracks your recovery and sleep.
Yeah.
Probably the sleep coach of it's probably my biggest thing. I've kind of had it for a few years now, so I kind of know how to use it and utilize it. I almost probably don't need it anymore, but it's something I'll focus on in the summers. Until the weekend comes when you're hanging out with the guys. It's more just trying to get your sleep every night. You could see when I eat really well. You could see when I maybe add like dairy or some pasta or some heavier foods to my diet or even late meals. That's something that kind of hinders my recovery. So it's just doing those things in the off season. I feel like it's a lot easier. With games, you're usually amped up after a game, and it's hard to fall asleep right away. So I'm usually laying in bed like 9:30. Some nights I'm falling asleep 10:30. And sleep and nutrition is probably even more focused on in the summer. I do focus on it obviously in the season, but I feel like I have more time, with meal prep, sometimes when I have so much free time here, it's just making sure I'm eating the best things possible. And out here on the Rock, we got our fair share of fresh seafood, so I'll be having crab
There we
legs and
go.
salmon tonight. So that'll help with
Yeah.
recovery tomorrow.
Oh yeah, there we go. Got to get the good food in you, but yeah, I feel the like it's hard to sleep after games. Like after games this season, I wouldn't go to bed to fall asleep till like 3, 4 in the morning, and then you got a back to back, and you still got to go up and play the next night. But like I feel the like amped up and like so like what do you do to help yourself like rest a little bit more during the season when you know you have trouble falling asleep?
Yeah, sometimes, and we got 3 and 3, so usually it's a Friday, Saturday with a Sunday, 4 o'clock game. We have this recovery protein. It's got a little melatonin in it, so I'll take a scoop or two of that, and I'll mix some tart cherry with that. And then we also have some like melatonin like capsules you could take as well. I didn't I felt like I dreamt way too much, and I felt like I almost wasn't sleeping when I was taking those, but
Yeah,
I took the recovery sleep protein and tart cherry. I take it's almost like a dessert. It tastes like dessert to me. I know some guys don't like the taste, but a little
yeah,
chocolate cherry before bed. So I usually, get my meal on me and, a little deep breathing sometimes, just closing your eyes, trying to focus on relaxing different body parts. Obviously, some days it's easier than others, but and then like when I look back at it, like being 31 now until I got this whoop, I mean, I've been playing like this for years now. So it's not like it's anything different. It's just trying to find little tweaks and whatnot to maybe
yeah.
get a little bit more of an advantage. So I'm a little more recovered for the next day. So things like that, sleep, hydration, obviously getting a lot of fluids in me after games too is very important. I try to focus on that as well. Being with our organization, we've been fortunate. We did a Gatorade test that kind of tracks how much sweat, every player loses. So I was able to see those numbers, see what works. For me, I was always drinking maybe a little too much water. So it's getting, BioSteel or Gatorade and some of those things mixed in just so I have a good combination of minerals throughout my body that are being absorbed and it's not just going through me. So just little hacks that you kind of learn the longer you play.
Yeah, just the little things and just to do whatever you can to get that extra recovery, especially like being like an older guy, like you gotta find any chance you can get to get that recovery mode going before anyone else is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you and like as you get older, you feel a little bit more. Recovery does take a little bit longer. It's funny with this whoop thing.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a group with it with a couple of guys from the season last year, and it's funny seeing they'll be hitting green zones after two back to back like a back to back game going
Yeah.
into it, and I'm starting to drop into the yellow, and you could just see the HRV and the resting heart rate's a little different. But when I got a little more downtime, I'm usually crushing it because I'm maybe doing a few more of the right things away from the rink. But yeah, you can definitely see it. So it's very important. And as I get older, I feel like my nutrition has just naturally gotten better over the years.
Yeah.
Not just for hockey, but it's nice to just feel good, every day, and finding those things and finding that happy medium between treating yourself and picking your go nights and whatnot. So it's been working well so far. I can't complain, and hopefully it helps me play a few more years.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal at the end of the day to play as long as you can and like whatever you gotta do to do that, like you're gonna do it no matter what.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but I wanna go jump into this season a little bit here. So you obviously were with Newfoundland Growlers this year as well as like the past 4 years. And you played a ton of minutes, played 70 games, got 58 points. Like for you personally, like what was this year like for you?
It was fun. I mean, the end result obviously disappointing. I feel like it's almost like I'm finally starting to maybe get a little more over it now than I was say even a week ago. Obviously, playing as much as I did, feeling like I had a little bit more of a offensive impact anyway. Was great and all and whatnot. Obviously, everyone will tell you it's fun
Yeah.
scoring. It's fun, contributing that way. But winning is obviously the ultimate goal, and to come up short, to the same team again and watch them kind of win, it's always a bitter feeling. So yeah, it was great. It almost feels like it didn't really matter at the end of the day because we didn't win, and that's kind of how I've always looked at it. I think back to the year that we did win, and it's funny because when you tell the stories, guys are kind of always wondering, well, that was so many years ago, but
Yeah.
everyone remembers a team that wins, and you personally will remember the years that you won the most over years where maybe you had personal success. So Personally, it was an exciting year. It was fun. It was cool to kind of just have that excitement. I felt like I haven't had that since probably juniors. But obviously, still disappointed to this day that we weren't able to win it all again, because winning is probably one of the best feelings in the world, and that's why we play. So
Yeah, always tough when you play the entire season and then you end up losing to the same team back to back years, and then they go on to win the Kelly. But like you just gotta look at, even though it's tough, you just gotta look at how the season went and how you did personally, and just go from there. And like eventually, like I know it's tough, but to get over like that hump of just being like down and then just going to next season being like, I want to go win a Kelly again.
yeah, no, it definitely makes you hungry for like the next year, next season,
Yeah,
wherever that may be for anyone. Obviously, I mean, and all credit to Florida. I mean, they're a good hockey team.
yeah,
They had a good core from the team. They won the previous year as well, so we knew we were in for a big test there. I knew a couple guys on the team, and I kind of just had that feeling when we ended up losing. I really just felt like they could win it all again. And I've said it before. Florida, the Everblades kind of remind me. They've been around for handful of years now. They kind of remind me of like a Boston Bruins or a Pittsburgh
yeah,
Penguins, and they just got to make the playoffs. I think they're the 4th seed, 7th overall in the Eastern Conference going to the playoffs. It doesn't matter with a team like that has that experience, that has that way and knowing how to win. So like I said, they were a good team. There was a good test for us, and obviously we're disappointed, but hats off to them. They did have a good team, and it just ultimately proved how good they were. Obviously, they were able to win it back to back years. So that's just part of the game. We play to win. There's ups and downs, and like you
yeah.
said, there's personal things that I could take away, obviously, from this season, that I was able to grow within my game, play more minutes, have a bigger role. And then there's things, I mean, you can always look in the mirror and find things to work on as well. So it's always about improving yourself, improving those around you, both on and off the ice.
Yeah, and like throughout like all the personal success you've had this year, you also earned an AHL call up to the Toronto Marlies where you got to play in a game. So like take us through like that experience, getting the call, partaking in warm-ups, and then getting into the actual game.
Yeah, that was crazy. Since my first year here, I've been fortunate to just build a good relationship, from people within the organization, whether they're with the Leafs, Marlies, or the Growlers. I've been surrounded by a lot of good people. Um, that call up is kind of crazy. We just came back from the Florida Norfolk trip. We got back Sunday night, I believe, and I had a missed call from Ryan Hardy. And I honestly thought it was just him congratulating me because I'd scored my 30th goal, I think, the night before or whatnot. And a lot of the brass within the organization usually reach out with a text and have always kind of
Yeah.
congratulated me on milestones. So when I saw that missed call, I said he's probably just congratulating me on like 30. And for a split second, I said to myself in my head, I'm like, maybe I'm getting called up, like joking around, like really quick. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not a big deal. So I went down the stairs at the airport there, and I called him back, no answer right away. And I just said, hey, sorry, missed your call. We just landed. Give me a shout when you get a chance. And before I can even, I think, send that text, he was calling me. And so long story short, he kind of just said, we had a conversation last summer about, contracts and situations and whatnot. And obviously what you do for the organization, we're very appreciative of it. We got some bodies banged up right now. You've been playing very well, and I want to get you in the game on Wednesday in Hartford. And he's like, what do you think about that? And I was just like, well, let's go. Like, of course, like, yeah, like, sure, we'll do it. So get off the phone, and I'm like, I can't believe that this is actually happening. So I go up to Horns, our equipment manager said, Horns. And he's like, I already know. He's like, your stuff will be packed. You'll be good to go. I was like, all right. I was like, okay, I got to call my parents now. So my parents were flying in Monday night because they were coming up to visit for the next homestand. We had 3 games in 3 days against 12. So I called them and I just said, all right, I got good news and bad news. And they said, well, what's the good news, or what's the bad news? I was like, well, when you guys get here tomorrow, I might not be here. And they're like, well, what's the good news? I was like, I just got called up to the Toronto Marlies. So they were like, holy man, like, let's go. So they flew in Monday night. It's funny because my mom has never been able to see me play a pro game yet. My dad has. So they get in here Monday night, and I was talking with some of the people up with the Marlies there. And long story short, they flew me, my mom, my dad out Tuesday morning to meet with the team. We got into Hartford Tuesday night, played the game. Really cool experience. Kyle Clifford came up to me and asked if I wanted a hot lap. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, you want one? I was like, all right, sure. 30-year-old rookie here. I'll take a hot lap, I guess. probably I was more nervous for that hot lap than I was to play my first pro game. Probably I get out there and I slid it right along the ice, fan on it, second shot hits the net, third shot like goes wide. Like I said, my nerves are going. Then once that hot lap was over, I was like, this is just another hot game or
Yeah.
a regular game for me. So it was a pretty cool experience playing with those guys. And then playing with some guys that obviously played with the Growlers and being able to kind of be reunited with them. So they made it very, very fun. For those that know, I walk into the rink with my speaker before every game, and I always have a song on it. And I didn't change myself when I went up there. I did it right there too, and it was funny just seeing some of the guys kind of smile and laugh at just me being who I am and
Yeah.
whatnot. But probably one of the most memorable, one of the top three most memorable, of my hockey career experiences. For them to fly my parents out and then fly us all back on the Thursday. And then the gear didn't make it, so I didn't play Friday. And then played Saturday, Sunday. So that was one of the games that I missed this year. My gear didn't make it, but I was scheduled to have a game off that weekend. Us with some of the older players as we're getting closer to playoffs. So it was either play with new gear Friday or give it till Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
and play those games. But no, definitely very grateful for that opportunity from the organization. Like I said, it's something I'll never forget. Me and my parents and I are all, obviously grateful for that whole experience. Like I said, they probably didn't have to do any of that, but they made it kind of like almost like my NHL moment in the American League. So, like I said, it was one of the cooler experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, that's a cool experience to just be able to have like your family there, like have some of your Newfie teammates there as well, and then just like get that hot lap, like rookie lap as a 30-year-old. Like there's nothing better than that, and like you're gonna take that, like going like throughout like all the things that you've learned throughout playing in the coast, and then finally getting your shot in the American League. Like what were some of the biggest things that you took away from getting to the AHL?
I think just like really, I really soaked it in. I knew it might probably be my only game I ever played in the American League. So I was really trying to just embrace everything from like the top end meals. I mean, we get pretty good here in Newfoundland, but just to a National League pregame, postgame like meal, just the way we're treated. Just really asked a few questions. Obviously, just try to get as much information as I can. And just for me, it was just more really just trying to enjoy it, but also be ready to play. We ended up losing that game in I think it was overtime. So obviously, you want to go up there, you want to win, you want to do what you can to help the team. So for me, it was really looking up when I got on the ice, really soaking in the warm up after the anthem, just kind of looking around. And that rink in Hartford is one of a kind. It's massive. So it was just, just being very grateful for it, but knowing that there was a job to be done and just for me, really soaking it in. I know it sounds cliche, but taking that away from it, people always ask, like what was the difference? And for me, it was obviously it's probably a little bit quicker. That just
Yeah.
makes sense. And that just probably has to do also with passing. Passing was pretty on the money. There wasn't too many errant pass where you might get that at our level. Physicality, I mean, like I was 30, so I'm a little bit stronger, so I'm kind of used to it in the sense that those guys at the American League are a lot of prospects. Um, and just being in the right position at the right time. So I almost thought that the game might have been almost easier because more times than not, the guys around you are doing their job all the time. If they're
Yeah.
not, and there's a misassignment, it's usually in the back of the net. So those are some of the things, and just just trying to encourage. It was nice to play that game to be able to help our young guys that haven't played there yet. I'm just using it as another tool in my toolbox to kind of share my experience and help my teammates and those around me as they move up in their careers as well.
Yeah, that's awesome that you with everything that how it went down, like everything you learned and that you're able to soak in throughout that moment. And then even just being able to take that experience back to especially the young guys in Newfoundland. Like you're the assistant captain there, so you're a big on the leadership role there. So like what does it mean to be on that leadership role and have an A on your jersey?
It's definitely an honor, especially if you look back. We were able to win in our first year and have guys like Adam Party who wore a letter, Alex Gabranson, some guys that played at a very high level. I mean, Pards played several years in the National Hockey League, and then to be with our captain James Melindy, who's been kind of our organization is where it is today because of his leadership.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when I got voted on, or I guess picked, I'm not sure how they did it if they asked the leaders from the previous year, but definitely, like I said, an honor. I don't take it lightly. It's something I take great pride in. Obviously, when we get guys at the pro level, everyone's probably worn a letter at some level of their career. So it's just, reminding them that just because I have a letter doesn't mean that they can't, lead as well. So it's just being able to help the guys, being a part of like the PHPA and the executive committee now, even it's just trying to be a helpful tool in their toolbox, answering questions, directing them where they might have questions. But yeah, it's like I said, it's an honor. I think I'd like to say our organization is a lot better. Well, not better, but we get a lot of resources. We get a lot of help from the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Marlies. So I just think the way that we it's a high class organization. We have high expectations, but it's something like I said, I take great pride in. It's fun to be here. It's exciting to always have a chance and be able to do what we do.
Take you back to that 2018-2019 season when there was your Newfie, and you ended up going on to win the Kelly Cup throughout that year, or at the end of the year. So like, take us through that year, your first experiences in Newfoundland, and then to ultimately win the Kelly Cup at the end of the season.
Well, that was crazy because that was after my first year pro, going into my second year. So I was actually in Atlanta for like training camp, and that's when they got a new coach. And then about a week before the season, he kind of axed a bunch of us returners and brought in some of his own guys. So I was kind of sitting around, not really knowing what I was going to do. And it was when I got a call from John Snowden. Well, I reached out to him, and just if he hears anything, like let me know. Like if you can help me with something in the ECHL, would like to stay at this level, obviously.
Yeah.
So long story short, within a couple days, Snowy had a conversation with Coach Ryan Clough at the time, and he got me. Well, basically, he said, "Hey, are you okay with this contract?" Blah blah blah, and I said, "Just send me it. I'm in. Like, I'm going to the Newfoundland Growlers. You're part of the Maple Leafs organization. Like, I'm in." So I flew out. I remember Monday night. I got in like Tuesday at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. That late flight to Newfoundland, and then played Tuesday night against Adirondacks. So it happened real quick. I remember when I got off the plane. I knew where Newfoundland was, but I didn't realize how far out we were. Got off in like a track pant and a sweater, and it was pretty chilly up by the airport. So that was my first taste, and then playing. But Newfoundland's a great spot. Good nightlife, good food, good people. Um, you know, Good facility that we got there. And then just kind of, I remember just morning skate, because I was playing in the South. Obviously, each division's got a little bit of a different taste. I'd say this maybe a little bit more pace, not as physical, but a little bit more. I mean, a little bit more skills. Probably not fair to say, but you just got that different style of play up here in the Northeast Division.
Yeah.
I remember after morning skate though, I called my dad and said that like it's fast here. I was like, I don't know if I can keep up. Like I remember the morning skate was fast, and so I kind of just got to work and just really try to work and round out my game and get back into it and really feel I'd taken about 2 weeks off after getting released from Atlanta. So, but I kind of just realized I was like, this team's like good. They got pace, they're fast, they got some skill. And then as the season went on, you had games that we were winning that maybe we shouldn't have won. We got goalies that stole games, um, and just finding the way to string wins together. And then we lost our head coach Ryan Clough, and that's when Snowy did a seamless job stepping in. And we had Daryl Williams, join our team, and who's obviously got his track record speaks for itself. And then from there on, it was just going on the run, and with that group, it's you kind of know. Yeah, I mean, you get that feeling of when you have something special, you still got to go and play the games, and then for us to kind of win it, we thought we maybe should have won it in Toledo from our performance, but I think it was way better that we won it at home because that was quite the 7 to 10 days following that win. That night alone, and then winning it all was, like I said, I talk about it a lot because everyone remembers those moments more than 30 goals. Everyone wins or remembers a championship. So definitely something. I got my jersey up on my parents' wall with the photo and whatnot. We even got to have a day. I got lucky because Canada had a holiday, so I got like 3 to 4 days with it in Thunder Bay. So was able to share that moment with family and friends and whatnot. But something I want to do again. Obviously, when you win once, you get a taste of winning. You want to keep winning. So hoping to do that again in the future.
Yeah, so you guys go on to win the Kelly Cup that year. and like you talk about all like the emotions that go through someone's head when you win a championship. So like as that buzzer struck zero, like what were the emotions going through? Like I'm sure it was a huge party, and like Newfoundland has a great nightlife, like you said. So I'm guessing everything was buzzing after that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Just jumping on the ice. I remember I texted my parents before I had a GoPro camera on, and I said, "Thank you for everything. I'll text you when I get a chance. I love you both," and that was it. And just it was just kind of like we did it, like all the sacrifices you kind of make, like all the people that made sacrifices for you, it kind of comes full circle, and you're just like, wow, what a relief. Like you
Yeah.
finally kind of did it. It's a crazy season of ups and downs, and like I said, the sacrifices, playing injured, and just kind of grinding through, especially at the ECHL level, a little bit more flying, a little bit more bussing, and yeah, it was crazy. And then I remember FaceTiming, my parents from the ice, and from the locker room. I'm trying to remember. I want to say we might have left the rink at like 12 o'clock, maybe even 1, had like a private party just across the street at Sundance, I think it was. I don't know if it's a place anymore. I think it closed down, but we did a private gathering there. And then I remember going back to the rink, and then, kind of a little after celebration. And then, kind of maybe going to bed at 6 a.m. I remember using pictures to kind of piece it all together. And then I remember waking up. I remember kind of just my phone went off around 10 a.m. And I remember it was a text message in the group from Brady Ferguson, and I think it said something like brunch or mimosas or something. And I was like, man, I'm so tired. I was like just about to roll back over and like go back and continue sleeping. I was like, well, I guess this is what you do when you win. And then up, showered, boom. Me and my roommate, I think Hudson Elnick at the time, I think he made it home that night. And we just continued on, and it was like 7 days straight. I remember the one day that we were kind of relaxed. We had some of the guys that were still in town at my place, and I remember I think it was St. Louis Blues were in the Stanley Cup Finals, so we just watched that game at my place there. But we had a parade. We ended up on George Street, the stage. There might have been over 1,000 people. It was off the charts. I mean, before every season, I kind of rewatch those videos again.
Yeah.
Get that itch, just that excitement of what your ultimate goal is, because you want to do that again. Like I said, it's pretty crazy feeling when you're in that moment, and the only way to do it is to win. So you can't get that moment without winning. So it's kind of like I said, the ultimate goal every season.
Yeah, and like those memories are gonna show up every year, and like you said, you get excited for it, you get excited to go, hopefully go do it again, and it just pushes you like on those days in January and February when things get rough during the season because your body's taking a beating, and then just to have that like little push to help you get past that, like that's and you're like, I'm gonna go try to do everything I can to go win another Kelly Cup because that's what I want to feel again.
Yeah, the dog days, especially the January, February, where it's just
Yeah.
kind of right after the All-Star break. There's a little bit of a lull. There's no real break at all, obviously, until playoffs, and well, not even a break. There's just no real break in the schedule. It's just a lot of games, a lot of hockey. You tend to practice less, and you play more games and travel more. So it's getting through that January, February, and then you get into March, April. And now it's getting that everyone starts getting that itch. The sheet gets tighter. The games get more meaningful. Everyone's fighting for those playoff spots and positioning. So yeah, no, it's definitely a grind, and it's exciting. Like I said, it's the most exciting time of the year. You play all year to go make the playoffs and give yourself a chance. So that's all you could really do is just get yourself in and see what happens from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely 100%. But I want to jump into your first year of professional hockey a little bit here. So this is where you were a bit of a suitcase, played with Orlando Solar Bears for 19 games, Utah Grizzlies for 6, and then back towards the south in Atlanta with the Gladiators and played 19 games there. So what was that first year of professional hockey like, and just experiencing like that suitcase life?
I was a whirlwind. Injured myself senior year at RIT, so I didn't play from January 7th till about mid-July. Finally was able to start, playing again. Um, at the time, I think Drake Berehowski, head coach of the Solar Bears, had made a call to RIT, and Brian Hills reached out to me and just kind of said, I pumped your tires a little bit, kind of just said what you did for us, and give yourself an opportunity there. So was able to go down there and make the team. Did Toronto Marlies camp there first because that was their affiliation at the time. So loved Orlando, loved the fans, loved my teammates, played very well. Ended up getting my first concussion. Don't fight heavyweights. It's not recommended. Obviously not knowing my way around the league. I got into it with Kurt Gogol, who I didn't really know who was at the
That's
time.
a tough guy. Tough
That's the
customer.
tough guy. I had no idea what I was doing or who I was fighting. But it happens. He was respectful with the whole situation too. I ended up playing the rest of the game because I just, I felt fine, but like I was almost ramped up that I wasn't fine. So I ended up
Yeah.
hitting my first concussion. So I missed a period of time, about, a month there. And then when I came back, continued to play, well. I was kind of 10th forward. I was only when they only had 10 forwards. So I was in our lineup, which was fine. First year pro, just trying to help out where I could. And then I think the Marlies at the time had sent down some players and kind of was just the odd man out and got shipped off to Utah. So that was crazy. I was never comfortable, but I thought was doing a really good job at what I was doing. But sometimes it's a number game. Obviously, being a
Yeah.
rookie, you're more expendable in this league. As to guys that maybe establish themselves. Obviously, me being fortunate to do that here in Newfoundland so far. Went to Utah. I remember getting there and seeing that most of their top players were the guys that were out, and I was starting to put kind of the pieces of how the ECHL works. And I remember told my dad, I was like, I'm going to give it everything I got, but like their top guys are out right now and they're coming back soon. And then we got a Rapid City road trip coming up. I was like, I can kind of put two and two together, but I'm going to go out and do whatever I can, obviously.
Yeah.
And it ended up being 6 games. And then I got a text from the coach that whatever day it was and said, hey, can you come see me before practice? And I jokingly said to the guys, because I was still in a hotel, they're like, oh, you're finally going to get your apartment, Skirvs. I said, boys, there's no way I'm getting my apartment. That'd be great. But I was like, I'm probably getting shipped out. And then obviously had the conversation, and he said we put some feelers out, and Atlanta kind of jumped all over it. But I felt a little more at ease with that trade, whereas at Utah, I didn't really know where I was going or getting myself into or the division. But I was like, I'm going back to the South Division. I have more familiarity with the players, the style. I just felt better. So when I got to Atlanta, Chuck Weber, coach there, kind of just said, this is what we see your role as being, and take it and run with it. So I ended up playing every game the rest of the season with Atlanta, and we were in a playoff race, and we were able to actually make the playoffs that year for the first time in a while with that team. So we ended up getting swept by Florida. Of course, Florida. Now I realize that Florida's knocked me out 3 times, but at least I was able to beat them the one time, right? Get my
Yeah.
Kelly Cup.
That's all that matters. The one time.
Yeah, the one time. So, but that was a cool experience because I got to play a lot more than what I had with the previous two teams. Kind of have a bit of a role and just buy into it and do what I can to help. And then even get some playoff games. I going into this or 2 seasons ago, I remember just kind of looking back and realizing if I look at the course of my career, I've been fortunate to play playoffs every single year except, I mean, in college, for the most part, everyone makes it, right?
Yeah.
Juniors, I didn't make it my first 2 years, 1 year in the BC League and my first in the USHL, and then I made it from like there on out. So I've been very fortunate. And I think, a lot of guys don't get that opportunity. So it was, like I said, it was cool to do that my first year pro, get that little bit of taste, and kind of see what it's like. And then was able to kind of use those experiences at those 4 games that we got, just kind of how hard it really is. And then seeing it come full circle the following year, and then just coming up short the past couple seasons. It's like I said, it's really really hard to win, and sometimes people don't realize that. You might have a really good team, you get to the playoffs, you see upsets all the time. It's a whole nother level. Everything's got to be raised. It's
Yeah.
you got to back check every time. You can't back check just 9 out of 10 times. That one time you don't back check might be a goal, and goals in the playoffs. I mean, you watch the National League, they're not the prettiest goals. It's chip in, it's
The grind goals.
it's and that's just playoffs. And like I
Yeah.
said, I don't take that for granted either. Like I said, it's awesome always having opportunity the last handful of years now to at least compete for a championship. And that's all I want to do at the end of the day is win. It's like I said, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, your first year was a bit of a wild turn, but like you still got to experience a lot of different places, the South, and then I believe like it's the Mountain Division there or something like that. You experience like the West Coast side of things. So like, and everyone always has like that like one story that sticks out in like your first few games of pro. So like, what was that story for you?
Um, Trying to think. I mean, my stallmate was Daryl Bootland, so that's a pretty that sticks out pretty good, right? I mean, hearing the
Yeah.
stories, that was probably pretty cool just hearing the stories. I mean, that guy's been through it all, right? So it was
Yeah.
really cool to hear some of the things that he would talk to. Sean Zimmerman, a guy who played pro for many years, hearing stories. I feel like it's always like the stories that you hear and the things that you learn along the way, that people you meet. I was able to be reunited with my junior teammates, Kyle Rankin. So that made it easier going down there. Um, but I think it was just, I don't know if there's one particular moment, at least in my rookie year, was I almost look back and realize I was almost like a deer in a headlight, in the sense that like I was always just trying to be a sponge and listen and just obtain information and get to know people and create connections and just try to get better every day while doing that. But for me, I guess maybe even getting traded was a big, like, this could be the pro life. This is the ECHL level. It's not where you play college for a team for 4 years. You're safe. It's, you kind of got to go to work every day
Yeah.
and earn your job each and every day. Not that I wasn't, but it just kind of just really shows you it don't really matter who you are. I mean, you can kind of get shifted at any time. It's sometimes a team's loss is another team's needs, and that's what it's like at the pro level, getting assets and whatnot. So just being able to handle adversity, I feel like I've been able to do that well throughout my entire career. Maybe sometimes better than others, but no, like I said, it's just being more grateful now for those experiences, because for me, it's, some of the rewarding parts now is being able to share those stories, share those things that I learned my first year, especially winning, losing now, obviously the past couple seasons, being able to share that with some of our younger guys, and then kind of go see them move on to the American League or high leagues overseas. I think I tweeted out, last week, and seeing some of those guys finally get their sniff at the NHL. I feel like just being able to know that I was able to maybe share something with them
Yeah.
along the way. It just, that's my NHL now, is seeing those guys move on. Like, I mean, just as recently, you got Mark Johnstone, who I was line mates with. He was my PK partner. We're the first two over the boards that last season. He was started on an ECHL deal, worked himself an American League contract, played in the American League full time last year, and now just signed a National League deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, like, for me, like, that brings me excitement. That brings me happiness, knowing that, like, I was playing with him. Yeah, is one thing, but knowing that I was hopefully able to help him at some point, whatever it would have been, I don't know. I never asked him, but just knowing that I had a piece and a part in his path is just an excitement, and it's all credit to him, because that guy is a workhorse, and seeing those guys take things that they've been told or taught, it's rewarding to see them use something and make it work, and keep pushing it, and then hopefully crack through. Like I said, I'll say it now. I really think Mark Johnstone will play a National League game next year, and it might be more than one, but I know I have a really good feeling that that guy will crack it. And it's like I said, those are just things along the way that from the lessons that I learned, hopefully I can help guys along the way as well.
Yeah, like that's what matters. Just have gaining all those experiences, and just being able to have like tell the younger guys, the younger generation, just to be able to help them get to whatever that next level for them is individually. So like what are some tips you'd give like younger players looking to get to that next level, whether it be high school to college, juniors to college, college to pro, or just moving up the pro ranks?
I think I feel like my advice has changed, and then sometimes it comes out differently. But the ultimate thing is you got to have fun. If you're not having fun and you're not really enjoying it, that's fine. I've said it before: is maybe you have different interests, and all power to you. There's more than just hockey in this world,
Yeah.
and I think at the end of the day, like, you need to find a happy medium and find a way to find things that make bring you happiness. Like, for me, it's always being at the rink, being with the guys, playing hockey. So, and that's okay, and it might take you a while to identify that. So, having fun is probably the ultimate thing. Obviously, there's going to be tough times, and there's going to be highs and lows, and it's finding a way to manage those. Um, I always say, for me, it's just like, I never made it to national hockey. Obviously, I'm probably not making it now, and that's okay. But it didn't change who I was or what I did. For me, it's always being able to, like, I can go to bed at night, look myself in the mirror, and know that, like, I gave it my all, and that's okay. And sometimes your all might not get you to the National League. It might not get you to the highest level, but it might help you create those connections. It might help you get some playing time here, and using hockey to do what you love, for make a little money, maybe take some courses along the way. For me, I was able to get me, a degree with the help of my parents and
Yeah.
whatnot. So it's just, it's building that, that network up through over the years, that, yeah, maybe you don't make it to the National League, and that's okay. It's not many people do. To make it at the ECHL level, not many people do either. And I think people don't realize that also. So it's just building that network along the way and asking questions, being coachable, reaching out, helping others. I mean, for me, I feel like sometimes when I have the most success, it's when I'm doing community stuff, get involved in the community. When I'm out there helping people around me, I feel like that brings me a little bit of happiness, which kind of continues onto the ice. Um, just helping those around you. Obviously, personal success, it always comes full circle. It's, guys on my team, I'm asking the younger guys, what they're doing and learning from our younger guys. And I feel like that's why I have had success the past 2 seasons. It's dabbing into those, the younger guys or whoever's around you as well. So it's always asking questions, being coachable, just willing to just kind of just do whatever you can. And like I said, I can have peace of mind knowing that I gave everything I can, and it just so happened not to make me not get to the National League. But maybe one day it's as for me, like I got a new media marketing degree, so maybe it's a marketing thing with the National League. Maybe I make it that way. Maybe it's coaching, or maybe it's scouting. There's not one path to say the National League, because that's kind of what we're talking about is hockey right now. But there's a lot of other things out there other than hockey. We're just fortunate we get to play a game for as long as we do it sometimes, so it's not taking that for granted. There are bad days, like I said, but in those bad days, I try to ask myself, whether it's a bad travel day or we're delayed or we're sleeping on the airport floor and whatnot, it's like someone's maybe sitting in a cubicle right now, which is not a bad thing, but
Yeah.
like I would not like to sit in a cubicle one day. I'd like to be out and about, whether it's in a rink. That's excitement for me. So it's always a little bit greener where we are, I would say. Like I said, it doesn't take away from the hard days and whatnot, mental health and whatnot. But yeah, it's just things like that, being there for others and keep grinding away.
Yeah, I love that answer, and like just going back to like having fun, like those are when you play your best games. Those are when you have like the best times, because like you're playing like stress-free hockey, like there's no tension. And you're just out there like a little kid just having fun playing the game. And then like when you said like you gave it everything you have, and like that. So like it's like just living life with no regrets. Like you're just trying to get to the highest level that you can. If it's not the national, it's not the national. It's what's wherever you feel that National League is for you. And like so like I really love that answer. And just it's not always about getting to the NHL, AHL, wherever. It's just about to get to where you feel like the highest level is that you could feel achieved.
Yeah, and it's not going to change. Obviously, it doesn't mean I'm going to work out less now, or it doesn't mean I'm
Yeah.
going to train less. It's still continuing to try and get better every day, and it's like learning all those life lessons, through hockey that you can take into the real world. Like I said, this like the sport of hockey, or any, like I said, any sport, any job in general, you can always take something that's going to enhance your life, enhance your toolkit, and things that you can bring into the next whatever that may be.
Yeah.
um so it's sports in general is very beneficial for me. That's but it's kind of always been for me. But maybe someone's into dance, maybe someone's into music, maybe someone's into art. There's different ways to kind of use your skills and learn life lessons along the way. But for me, it's very fun to do it playing hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll jump into your college and your junior days a little bit here. So you played 4 years at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. So like what were those 4 years of college hockey like, and just like trying to balance like that social life, the hockey life, the school life, like everything?
It almost feels like a blur, and just thinking of it now, as Wayne Wilson said on day one, it kind of flies by. You might not realize it right away, but I look back and that's, I think, 6 years ago now I graduated. So flew by. For me, I took courses in between. When I was playing the BC League, I took some courses to kind of chip away at my college degree. And then when I was an overager in the USHL when we made playoffs, so I had to take a full load that year leading up into my RAT. So I had a little bit of a taste. It's definitely a different kind of grind. A couple late nights or getting
Yeah.
your assignments done. For me, I was always trying to get my stuff done before your Friday, Saturday game.
Yeah.
So I had less to do on Sunday after having fun on Saturday night after the games. So I was always trying to get stuff done early. I always took 5, 6 classes a semester. My senior year, because it was only offered in the spring, I only had one class, and that was Wednesday, 6 to 9. So I had a pretty easygoing senior spring. unfortunately I was hurt, so it kind of altered a few plans. But no, it was fun. I was very fortunate to play at RIT. Kind of the selling point was obviously playing time and whatnot, but the more of a selling point was that every class that has come through there has either won a regular season championship or a conference championship. And like I said, winning is one of the best things in the world. So we were fortunate enough to win my sophomore and junior year. We were able to win the conference championship. My sophomore year, we upset first number 16 seed to upset a number 1 seed. We beat Mankato, lost in the Elite Eight to Omaha, Nebraska, and then the following year we lost to in the Sweet 16 to Quinnipiac. So very cool. Like I said, championships are everything. I still have the rings from those. It kind of pops up in my memories every now and then. I feel like I've been a little bit distant from RIT, and it's something I haven't been back since. But it's something I want to get back to. See the coaches, see the players that are there now. Try to reconnect with some of my college buddies. I feel like ever since I've been in Newfoundland, I kind of just fell into my own little world out here. Met a lot of good people that were friends with our local hockey players. And I feel like I'm almost even closer with those guys now. I feel like in a different part of my life, whereas school, I was maybe a little too focused on school at times.
Yeah.
Didn't get all those nights out like I do now and whatnot. So, but very cool, very thankful for that opportunity. Like I said, I was able to use hockey. Like I said, it could be a sport, could be anything. To be able to use that to, chip away your degree while doing what you love is something that obviously I take great pride in, and I'm glad that I was able to go that route.
Yeah, and like when you think of college hockey, like you think of like the Frozen Four, like all that. What was like those experiences just going into like the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Frozen Four, and just like in like those tournaments, just to be able, because like that's what college hockey is all about at the end of the season.
Yeah, it was incredible. I remember the first time we went, there's TV cameras everywhere. There's kind of almost like a red carpet. Like you got your name tag, you got everything. It was in Notre Dame my first year, I believe. So we were out on their campus, and I think it was Notre Dame. Feels like a blur. But it was the way you're like you said, it's that's their Stanley Cup, right? So
Yeah,
it's treated pretty big. You got Bucci Grosh, you got all the big, guys walking around, Melrose, all those guys following it and broadcasting it. But yeah, very cool. Atlantic hockey doesn't normally get an automatic bid. Maybe that'll change over the next few years. I feel like, every team's starting to get better. Every team's starting to get their own rink on campus. I think that helps. Being able to offer, scholarships at every school is going to help as well. For us, we had to win to get in. Um, but yeah, definitely, I look back. It's crazy. It's hard to go back to back,
yeah,
obviously, and we were able to do that within our conference. But I felt like that. Obviously, you're disappointed in not winning at all, obviously. But I feel like at the college level, it's getting to like the first year you're able to get to Elite Eight. So now you have a taste of, kind of what it takes, and it's trying to get back to it the following year. You have another year or two to get back to it. Whereas like now it's, maybe a season ending injury can end kind of your career, or
yeah.
teams change so much, a lot more than what they do at the college level, whereas you're together for 4 years. So it was a cool experience. I was happy I was able to get a degree and have, team success there. Our first year we had a pretty good team. We obviously lost our captain that year, Matt Garbowski, who was a big hole in our lineup. But the next 2 years after that, and then seniors, a couple injuries. I'm not going to blame the injuries, but we missed some
Yeah.
key pieces on the back end, and I think that's why we weren't able to, punch through again. But definitely a cool experience and another route that every player can kind of take a look into and see if that's for them.
Yeah, and like those are like some of your best times in college, like when you're going through like those experiences. So and like just to have those for the rest of your life. So like what was like the big moment where the big memory that sticks out to you from all 4 years of college?
I think winning, winning the championships, because at that time Rochester, where the Amerks play, that was like the host arena. Like that arena held the conference championships.
That's a
So being
sick
able
barn
to,
too, because it's older as well, right?
yeah, it's an older barn, so being able to kind of just win in front of your own fans twice, sitting the next morning, waiting for the picks on the
Yeah.
where you're going next, that kind of sticks out. A couple nights that you had throughout with your teammates, and then probably graduation, having my family there, and my ex-girlfriend at the time now, and having their family be able to share that moment together. Just, the things that we did in the backyard, and having a good time, kind of just wrapping up 4 years. And it, like I said, having everyone there, friends and family, was made that moment more special.
Yeah, that's unreal. Great memories for sure. But you grew up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, where you played AAA hockey throughout that time for Thunder Bay Kings, and before moving on to the Vernon Vipers in the BC and the Prince George Spruce Kings in the BCHL. It's like what was youth hockey like growing up for you, and then getting a shot in the BCHL and the USHL?
It was good. So I played baseball and hockey growing up. 12 years old, I made the traveling team, the Thunder Bay Kings, the Pee Wee team at that time, or U12, I think it's called now. I'm not sure. I don't have a child in hockey, so I'm not really sure. Um, my dad kind of had a conversation with me and just said, you kind of got to pick. I don't want you taking a spot, showing up to the baseball field, halfway through a game and taking away from another kid who's there all the time. And fair point. So made travel hockey that year. The next year, kind of, on the bubble, played double A the next 2 years for Billy Duncan in double A. Two of some of the best years of my life. And it was when I was 13, 14. We won a city championship my first year there. I think we lost in the semis the following year. So some pretty good success there. And then we're coming into our draft year, and that was when the Kings had a U16 team there. And they actually kind of took our team out and combined it with the major junior team, or U18, I guess you'd call it. And so I ended up playing double A that year, which is probably the best thing ever because I played a lot.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to the OHL Cup because we put a team together for it. Wasn't drafted, got invited to Kitchener camp, and then me and my dad had another conversation, and still grateful for this conversation to this day. And he kind of said, like, maybe you should look into going to school. If you go here, you might burn eligibility and whatnot. And I kind of look back at that, and I tell kind of kids from back home, it's when you get drafted, it's look at yourself in the mirror. And I try to say, not that you don't have a chance. It's more like, are you an Eric Stahl? Are you a Jordan Stahl? Are you a
Yeah.
Jared Stahl? Are you any of those guys that were able to go there and have successful OHL careers? Or would you rather play another year of travel hockey, or another year of tier 2 junior,
Just
and
develop.
get a few more reps before you jump? So that's when my dad had that conversation with me. And I was like, honestly, like, I know I'm not that good. Like, I'm not going to go there and make an impact. Yeah, maybe I'll go there and play, but I'm not going to make an impact. And I want to make an impact. So I played to double A in my 15-year-old year. Then 16, 17, I played travel hockey for the Kings there. And we had this tournament out in Kelowna, British Columbia, which is one of the best Canadian travel or U18 tournaments, I'd say, next to the Max probably. I never went to that. But in Kelowna, they kind of bill you out. So you fly there and they give you to a family. So you're there for the family for a whole week. We won the tournament one year. Um, and I can't remember what we did the other year. But anyways, that was when Vernon Vipers were in the stands. Mark Ferner, Fred Harbinson was in the stands with Penticton. And I know David Salako, Brian Hills, and Wayne Wilson, one of the three, they kind of saw me there for the first time because they were in the area watching some BCHL games where they get a lot of their players from. And then, long story short, it kind of came down to had an opportunity between Penticton and Vernon, both, what great organizations, powerhouses of the BCHL at the time. For me, it was Penticton's always stacked. It wasn't that I didn't believe myself. I'm like, I probably won't play as much as I would in Vernon. Vernon, a little bit more playing time. Not a lot, though, but that's okay. So that's when I had committed to Vernon, made the call to Mark Vernon. That way I followed their run. That was the year I think they won their league again, and I think they might have won the national championship that year. And then went out there the following year, played a year, most of the year with Vernon. They got traded at deadline to Prince George, which was almost like another blessing because with Prince George, I went from not really playing, at the junior level, and then playing a lot down the
Yeah.
stretch with Prince George and getting that full junior feel. So that was the whirlwind of my first junior year, but it was great, like, good experience, and definitely kind of helped me learn early on at 18 that it's a different world up in the juniors.
Yeah, and like that's sometimes like all you need is like where like you to go to where you're gonna play, because like that you need the reps, you need the experience, you need the games to go up to whatever the next level, whatever that is. So just to be able to go to a team that wants you and that's going to give you that playing time, like it helps your development as well as like trying to get seen by other teams, which the following year you found yourself in the USHL for 2 seasons with the Sioux Falls Stampede. It's like, what was it like going up another level from the BC to the USHL, which is a couple tier jumps or a couple jumps away from the BCHL? It's like, what was that whole experience like?
It was great. For me, it was I didn't really want to go back to Prince George. I felt kind of that was kind of where I felt. I mean, I played a lot, but it was just different for me. I was
Yeah.
didn't know how I felt about it at the time. Marcus Perrier played for Sioux Falls Stampede. He was from Thunder Bay, and he said like I'll give a call to coach and just see what he says. So at the time, my parents, we had a landline phone, and I come home from wherever it was that day, and there was a message from Coach Kevin Hartzell, and he just said, "Hey, I want to, Marcus Perrier gave me your name. I want to invite you to camp. Um, you know, don't know, you know, don't know if you'll be on the team, but I want to give you an opportunity to come to camp and kind of prove yourself." And I remember that day I said to my dad, I said, "I'm packing my bags." And I was like, "I'm not coming home. Like I'm going and I'm going to make the team because like at that point, I was like, I get an opportunity to play in the USHL. Like this is a dream come true."
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going there. I'm going to make the team, and and that's it. Like I had no other, like I never had any other option. And he kind of said, "Well, what doesn't happen?" I said, "It's happening." I was like, "I'm going there. Mark's put in a good word. I'm not going to like let him down." And long story short, made the team that year, played third, fourth line probably, and had a successful year, just learning that style of hockey. And, we didn't make the playoffs that year. And then the following year is coming back. We had a new head coach with Terry Eads and Christian Bragnello, who was from Thunder Bay, and Dallas Stewartson. And we had a pretty good team, like I said, and it was just 2 years. And that second year is when I got injured, and I probably committed to RIT a week before. So, like I said, it kind of felt like at that point everything was just falling into place, and I was right where I needed to be. And like I said, the USHL is a great league. You look at the BCHL now, I'd probably say I coached out there during COVID for a little bit. It's they kind of broke away from Hockey Canada there. They feel like they're almost the USHL of Canada now, allowing that school route situation there. But Sioux Falls, great fans, great hockey. The USHL is. You look at the rate of guys are committing. It's unless they played major junior and come over,
Yeah.
maybe, and probably going back to CIS anyway. A lot of the guys, you look at this, the sheet before a game, and it's all highlighted. They got the logos to every school, you name it. So a very high successful rate, and I think it's just the way they do things. They take pride in being that school option, that school route, and they really try to develop you kind of with the training, the amount of practices you have. They try to give you that. So when you do go to college, it's more of a seamless adjustment.
Yeah. So like throughout, like you went BCHL to the USHL, and like BC's like the USHL Canada hockey, like you said. It's like, what was the biggest thing you learned from taking that jump and just to be able to develop and grow your game from at the USHL level?
For me, it was like it was different because it was like at that time it was when they only had I think a few imports. I don't know what the rule is now with the USHL. I want to say there was only like 4 imports maybe allowed when I
Yeah.
played, so you had to really bring it if you were going to be one of those 4 imports because they could bring pretty much anyone, right? Um, but for me, it was just I felt it was a little bit more. Well, I don't know if it was more skilled. It was more defensive. It was almost harder to score goals. I felt like a lot of guys had cages in that league at the time. The younger guys had to wear a cage. So with a cage, naturally comes fearless, a little bit more fearless
Yeah.
hockey. You can kind of run around a little bit. You can block shots. Like I felt like when I first got there, everyone was blocking a shot. We're in BCHL at the time. It was more like go go go. Like it was kind of like a track meet.
Yeah.
So that was probably the difference at that time. I feel like it's obviously shifted a lot over the years, but yeah, it just felt like when I went to college and watching college hockey, it just felt like the college game at the time. Um, but yeah, I was just trying to adjust, and like I said, going there, I didn't want to be anywhere else. I was like, this is where I got to play my next year or two or whatever it may be. I need to be here and get myself that commitment that I've always wanted. So I wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna go out easy there.
Yeah, I love that answer because you're always learning throughout those experiences. You like, especially like when you go up to that next level, you have to bring it night in, night out, just like pro hockey. And like especially when guys give you like good recommendations, you just got to go out and prove that like it was the right call to go up to that level, and just to be able to just to be that guy that like that coach picked to get to that next level, and just to be able to play at that next level.
Yeah, and sometimes, like I said, sometimes there's like a realization of just reality and whatnot. Felt like that for me in that moment. It was just like, this is what has to be done. This is what I got to, like, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
do it. It was just that full on belief that it was happening there, in that situation. And like I said, Heartsy, it's funny because I don't think he's on Facebook, but he looks through his wife Facebook all the time, and I usually get a message from him. He still follows me, and it's pretty cool because I feel like you look back, he's obviously a big piece to where I am
Yeah.
today. I mean, it just he gave me an opportunity, and again, like there's opportunities out there, and some work and some don't, and this is one of them. It just so happened to work. You look back, when I was in Vernon, that run didn't really work, and that's okay. Some are going to work better than others, and like you said, it's taking those learning lessons along the way that, like I said, where I am today, I'm okay. Like, I'm content that I was able to do what I did leading up to this point. Is the job done? No, but like I could still have happiness, and I could still go to sleep at night knowing that along the way I've made those connections, and I have put forth the effort, year after year.
Yeah, it's all about those opportunities and everything. But I have one last question for you before we wrap things up here. So you talked about how you were in Toronto, that you brought, like, you're a speaker guy, like you bring the speaker in to when you walk in. Like, what's your go-to song for putting on the speaker?
So I always walk into "The Boys Are Back in Town." I don't know. It's just something that I think I started. So my first year when I was with the Growlers, my roommate Hudson Elnick always had the speaker. We'd wake up from a nap and he'd show up in front of my door, tunes blaring, and it'd be the funniest thing. I got snap videos saved, and I send it to him every year, and we get a good chuckle out of it. And I was like, I got to get one of these. Like, it's a Bose 360, so I was like, I got to get one of these. I need it. And then so I think it was the second season in Newfoundland or the third, and I just started. It was just kind of like, hey, we're back in town. Like, the Growlers are back in
Yeah.
town, boys are back in town. I never really blare it next to like an opposing locker room. I'm not trying to stir it up that way. It's just more like, hey, like,
Yeah.
we're back, like, let's go.
Stay
Um,
loose, have fun.
yeah, yeah. And I get to Toronto. I'm walking in with Ryan Chizowski and Mateo Piccinero. Mateo gets like secondhand embarrassment, so he's about like 10, 20 feet behind me, and he's like, I'm not walking with you. And Chiz is like just behind me, and he's like videotaping it. I was like, I need a new song. I was like, I'm in Toronto now. I was like, so I would put on Levels by Avicii, and I said, well, I'm moving up levels, so here we go. And like I said, I think I got in the room, and I want to
That's
say
unreal.
Kyle Clifford was there at the time, and I think Jordy Ben might have been there, or Shazi. And like I said, they kind of like Cliffy looked at me at first, like, it was really funny because it was just like, I'm not going to change who I am, and I'm going to bring a little bit of light to the situation, and like, it's a game at the end of the day. It's have fun. This is like
Yeah.
how I am, who I am. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes, but it was just kind of just showing, like, you know who I am, and like, you can get along with me too. I'm chill.
Yeah, that's unreal. That's a good story to like have like your call up be like walk into it from a call up and just being blasting new levels just like that. But you gotta have some fun, right?
Yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, we're playing a game for a living,
Yeah.
and we're very fortunate.
Yeah, exactly. But Skirvs, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I want to wish you the best of luck wherever you end up for next season.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah, see you, buddy.